Hi, I'm Dr. Faye Hargrove with Better Choices Coaching and Counseling Services. So you've received a positive diagnosis for HIV. I'd like to talk to you for a few minutes to help you understand that it is possible to live a full and happy life with HIV. I'm going to suggest 4 simple strategies to help manage your overall health and well-being so that you could do just that, live a full and happy life with HIV. Here's what I know. There may be some circumstances that we cannot change. A positive HIV diagnosis may be one of those. Receiving an HIV diagnosis can be frightening. It can be life-changing. You might feel many emotions like sadness or hopelessness or even anger. And while we cannot change the diagnosis, what we can change is the way we react to the fact of having to live with HIV. You are in complete charge of what you think and what you feel about the events of your life. Do you believe that? Well, here's what that looks like. I'd like for you to do a quick exercise with me. I'd like for you to think about a time when you were excited, or maybe you were having a good time. Maybe you were laughing, just hanging out with friends or watching the kids do something funny and you were cracking up laughing. Can you think of a specific memory anytime in your life when you were cracking up laughing? You got it right. Now I wonder if you can go into that memory storage system of yours and think of a time when you were angry. Maybe someone said something or did something and felt a little anger. Can you recall a specific memory? Great. Now, can you recall a time when you were excited? Maybe you were about to go somewhere, see someone, get something, and you were like, yes. Great. Now look at what you just did in the span of about 30 seconds. I asked you to go into your memory storage system, come up with 3 memories that you had. And I'll bet that in that span of a few minutes, when you thought of those 3 memories, you also had 3 different feelings. So the first memory, I asked you to think of a time when you were laughing. And maybe you started smiling again because it felt funny. And then I asked you to think of a time when you were angry. Chances are, at that moment, your smile dropped. Maybe your face got a little tight and you felt that anger. But then I asked you to think of a time when you were excited and for some reason the anger went away and you felt the excitement. How did you do that? Well, there's something very simple and very profound going on here, which I want you to catch. And that is when you changed what you were thinking, you changed what you were feeling. When we change what we're thinking, we change what we're feeling. So on that basis, I want to suggest to you 4 strategies for managing your thought processes and the way you're thinking so that you can manage the way you're feeling living with HIV. Here are 4 strategies that I suggest you adopt and master so you can live your best life with HIV. Strategy number 1, take responsibility. What does that mean? You might have noticed that there's a cause and effect equation that dictates how the world works. There are causes, something happens, and then there are effects. You put coffee in clear water, it turns brown. You apply heat to your bread, it becomes toast. So the coffee and the heat caused that change in the water and the bread. And as rational human beings, we choose which side of that equation we want to live on. That is what perspective we take in regard to causes and effects, the cause side or the effect side. Now, living on the effect side means that things happen to us. We're water, we're bread. Power comes from out there somewhere into our world. People who live on the effect side of the equation often picture themselves as victims. They blame others. They assume that they have no control over their circumstances. It's not my fault. I flunked that test because the book is terrible, or the teacher can't teach, or it's at 7 o'clock in the morning. Who puts a math class at 7 o'clock in the morning? What you get from that is blame and excuses. It's the government's fault. It's my dysfunctional family's fault. It's the marketing department's fault. The only thing you can hope for in terms of results with that mindset is blame and excuses. With that mindset, you have no power. So I'm inviting you to live on the other side of the equation, and that's on the cause side. Be at cause. The good news is that if we decide to live on the cause side of the equation, we are choosing power and an opportunity to change our circumstances or be in control over our circumstances. People who are at cause recognize the cause and effect nature of a situation, and they take responsibility for what's going to happen next. They ask themselves questions like, so what am I going to do about this? Sometimes we can't change what has happened, but you can change how you react to it. Life is 10% what happened and 90% how we react to it. So how you feel or behave about it. The opposite of that is to become a victim. So strategy number one that I'm suggesting is that you adopt an at cause attitude. Be at cause. That is the appropriate mindset to face this new normal in your life. Take responsibility to create the outcome you want. You have the power to manage this. Strategy number two, learn as much as you can about HIV and AIDS. You won't give in to worry if you have reliable information. Now, your friends and your family are going to want to give you advice. Sometimes it might be good advice, but the best information comes from your doctor or your counselor, or from local, state, or national HIV/AIDS resources. There's a lot of information out there. There's no time for a head in the sand approach right now. Remember that HIV is manageable. It can be treated with medicines. Knowing about HIV and AIDS will also help you take the best care of yourself. The Centers for Disease Control, or the CDC, has lots of information on their website. Just go to cdc.gov and look up HIV, and there are all kinds of resources there and information. So strategy number one is take responsibility for your new normal. And strategy number two is learn as much as you can about HIV and AIDS. Strategy number three is to manage your emotions. Now, the truth is, it's normal to feel stressed or angry or even depressed about your diagnosis. People living with HIV have a higher chance of developing mood, anxiety, or cognitive disorders. So there are situations that contribute to this mental health or to these mental health problems. For example, HIV and living with HIV and AIDS may challenge your sense of well-being, or it could complicate an existing condition that you already have. So if you are already prone to anxiety or depression disorders, it could complicate that. You might feel isolated. Maybe you're worrying about loss of employment, or you're worried about not being able to perform at work. Maybe you're worried or anxious about having to tell others about your HIV diagnosis. Managing your HIV medicines and medical treatment. Maybe you're worried about your ability to do that, or facing the stigma and the discrimination associated with HIV and AIDS. Let's talk about depression, which is one of the most common mental health conditions faced by people living with HIV. So what are the symptoms of depression? You might feel a persistent sadness. You may feel anxiety, which is worrying about what could happen. You might have a feeling of emptiness or a feeling of helplessness, negativity, negative thoughts. Maybe you've lost your appetite, or you've lost your interest in engaging with others. These are all signs and symptoms of depression. The good news is depression can be treated. It's important to remember that mental disorders are treatable, and people who have mental disorders can recover completely. So to help, I suggest you explore mindfulness and meditation practices and tools that first help you recognize your moods. So you need to be aware of, what am I feeling right now? I'm feeling sad. Where is this coming from? And then you can be at cause and take charge of the mood and decide what to do about it. Discuss these moods with your primary care physician, your counselor, or your social worker. So recognize when you're feeling these feelings, and then take action to do something about it. So be at cause and take responsibility to create the outcome you want. Learn as much as you can about HIV. And the third strategy was manage your emotions. And finally, the fourth strategy is to find a safe place to be able to share your thoughts and your feelings. This may mean surrounding yourself with supported people. It might even mean that you need to make some new friends. Now, I am very fortunate to belong to this amazing group of women who make me feel like I have sisters to turn to when I need support. Delta Sigma Theta sorority is a great refuge for me. I'm surrounded by supportive people. Maybe you belong to such a group of friends or church members, or you have a family that make you feel safe and seen. There are many people living with HIV these days, and they often get together in support groups to help one another. Ask your healthcare provider, your social worker, or your case manager about local support groups. They may also refer you to a mental health provider who can give you the care that you need. Look, don't be discouraged if certain members of your family or your friends are not able to handle your diagnosis with the care and the diplomacy that you would like to experience from them. Do not allow toxic relationships, though, to cause you stress. You may have to give yourself permission to love those people from a distance. Let's review. Sometimes we cannot change the circumstances that we find ourselves in. But all of the time, we can manage our reaction to circumstances. So we take full responsibility for creating a happy life for ourselves. 4 strategies that may help you. Let's review. Take full responsibility for your health care, for your mental state, for your future. You are not a victim. How have the power to manage this? Now have the power to manage this. You have the power to manage this. Learn everything you can about HIV and what it will take for you to control it. Do your homework. Learn about your new normal. Manage your mental health. Pay attention to your moods with mindfulness and meditation tools, and get connected with supportive people. To help you manage your mental health, it's important to know how and when and where to get help. So here are a couple of resources that may help you. If you need help finding treatment, SAMHSA, that's the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration of our federal government, samsha.gov is a good place, a good resource to turn to. And there's a phone number, 1-800-662-HELP, 1-800-662-HELP, in order to look for local resources. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention provides lots of information on HIV and AIDS and resources. So you can go to their website at cdc.gov. There are mindfulness tools that the Mayo Clinic offers. If you go to mayoclinic.org and look for mindfulness tools, how to engage in mindfulness, being present and aware of your feelings. And then guided meditations on YouTube I found to be very helpful so that you can stay in touch with your feelings and manage your mental health. And then there are support groups. So ask your primary care physician or others that you're working with about local support groups. You know, there's something else that's important to remember. We are not what happens to us. You are still the beautiful, intelligent, creative, loving person that you were before the diagnosis. Now is not the time to beat up on yourself because of what has happened. You need more love and self-care now, not less. You got this.